What's up, you filthy casuals? Gagex Scapegoat here. I apologize for the douchebag sunglasses look that I'm rocking today. It looks like I haven't slept in about 4 days, so you're gonna have to deal with glasses today. So anyways, we're gonna give you guys the top 10 budget decks for the Zoodiac format. So the main idea behind this is that I try to do a budget deck list at the start of every new format. As soon as a ban list gets released within a couple of days, I'm gonna give you guys like 10 decks that I think you should try out for the new format. Now, Konami, what they seem to be doing as of late is instead of changing the format by the ban list, they're changing the format by the cards they release. So I figured that maybe we'll just switch it up a little bit and we'll see how this works. So this is the top 10 budget decks for Zoodiac format. So as always, if you guys think there's a deck I missed, be sure to leave it in a comment, and well, hope you enjoy the video. First off, trap monsters. So I say trap monsters because yes, the deck is pretty slow, and I understand that it does have some vulnerability to decks like, let's say, ABCs. But the main thing we're going to be focusing on with this list is how it fares versus Zoodiacs. And this deck, especially if it opens Statue of Anguish pattern, will actually give Zoodiacs a pretty difficult time. With Zoodiacs, a lot of what the deck is it's combo oriented. Yes, they have a lot of one-card combos, but a lot of times those cards that work with the one-card combos are really the stars of the show. For example, Whiptail by itself is good and all, but you really want to equip it onto your Exceed so you can start banishing stuff. So let's say you go first. You set your back row, pass your turn. They draw, they summon Malmarat, and you flip a trap monster and then chain Statue of Anguish pattern. Statue of Anguish pattern resolves first, summoning statue, and then you special summon your other trap monster. Statue of Anguish pattern triggers and pops the Malmarat. Okay, so then let's say they go triangle, pop itself, special another Malmarat. You flip another trap monster and blow it up. Their ability to put a lot of damage on board while simultaneously stopping your opponent's plays is very reminiscent of, let's say, Gemini Hero Stun. You know, when your opponent summons an alias against you, don't you dare even think about bottomlessing it, because there is about a 102% chance they have Gemini Spark to back it up with. So with the ability to disrupt combos better than a lot of other decks in Yu-Gi-Oh right now, and with its ability to really be able to handle Hyper Exceed decks like Zoodiacs, and even if you pack in cards like Imperial Ironwall, can even be able to take down ABCs if you need to. Especially if you have cards like Imperial Custom to protect your floodgates and to protect your trap monsters. I honestly think this deck is pretty underrated, and plus it also makes good usage of cards like Magic Planter. So if you're looking for a fun yet slightly competitive deck that you do have a pretty good chance of stealing a couple games against Zoodiacs with, try out trap monsters. They're a lot of fun. Number 9. Gravekeepers. So Gravekeepers, obviously, I put them on almost every list, and I still stand by that I think it's a very good deck right now. The reason why they're so low on the list is because they do have a little bit of trouble against Zoodiacs, because yes, they'll pop Necro Valley and stuff like that, but all that really means is that you have to switch up how you play the deck and what the deck contains. Nick Giles, who topped Regional a couple of weeks ago playing Gravekeepers, he only played 2 copies of Necro Valley and 2 copies of Commandant. He played, it almost felt like anti-meta with a Gravekeeper engine to it. So if you have Necro Valley out on the board early and you're able to hone in on cards like Trident to make sure that they can never really keep it in play for very long, you do have a pretty good chance of being able to stop your opponent. And if they go first, really just pack 2 Dark Hole and a Raigeki. You have usually a Book of Moon in the main deck, or just set a Fossil Dine and wait for them to attack into it and then laugh at them. So pick up GKs, Graveyard Control for days, and the new Necro Valley errata is fucking broken. Number 8. Yosenju. So Yosenju is actually a pretty interesting commodity in the game right now for a couple reasons. One, because it's a pretty solid anti-meta choice that has the ability to throw a bunch of damage on the board without even really needing to special summon. This deck also has a pretty good amount of resistance to cards like Trident right now, because, oh no, I summon a Yosenju and you choose to pop it, well, the effect still triggers, so as far as I know, I can still summon more Yosenju. And if they don't Trident one of the monsters, then either you're going to bounce the Trident, or you're going to just swing with all your monsters, because all they play is low attack shit. And you can also play Yosenju in 2 different ways right now. You can obviously play the stun floodgate Yosenju deck that we've all come to know and despise when we play against it. You know, playing cards like Lose a Turn, which I think is going to be one of the best cards of the format, this upcoming format, and playing other cards like Summon Limit, which I think is going to be really underrated this format. And then plus you're a stun deck slash anti-meta deck, so play Triple Strike, Warning, Vanities. Hell, play Blackhorn of Heaven. That card's actually not too bad right now. You know, Blackhorn of Heaven stops ABC Buster Dragon, stops all the summons for Zoodiacs. Like, it's not a bad card right now. And then you have the other way of playing the deck, which is pure aggro. Guy a couple weeks ago got 5th place at a regional playing like pure aggro Yosenju. He played the Kaiju engine, he played 5 different Kaiju with different names, plus 3 copies of Slumber. He played Kama 1, Kama 2, Kama 3, and Sujik. Then he played 3 copies of Jiraigato for more damage, and then played a shitload of back row disruption. Played no traps, just went straight in for the kill. So you can take your pick. You can play an aggro deck, you can play aggro control with Yosenju if you want to, and you can just play straight stun, floodgate, control, whatever you want, like I very likely will. So give Yosenju a shot. It's another deck that's going to be pretty under the radar. It costs like pocket change to build, and it is hilarious whenever you OTK your opponent with it. Number 7. Fire Kings. Fire Kings, I think for the first time in like over 2 years, are a really good meta call right now. Because Fire Kings have this card, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called High Avatar Garunix. So you guys remember the Garunix loop, you know, a couple years ago, whenever nobody could get Garunix off the field for whatever reason? Okay, Garunix loop against Zoodiacs. Good luck. Oh, you have Totem Bird, MX Saber Invoker, Trident, whatever the hell else you want to throw on the field. Well, great. I'm going to go ahead and Garunix you. So it's either you're going to go ahead and Trident my Garunix, and then it's going to come back next standby phase, and whatever new line of attack you have against me is going to get popped as well. Or you choose not to use Trident, and then I'm going to smack you in the face for 27, set my back row, and you're going to have to hope that I don't have some kind of answer. So in my testing of it, it does have a pretty solid matchup against the deck. Plus cards like Blazing Mirror Force can even have a little bit of impact on it. You know, get the little extra burn damage if you want. But the reason why it's not in the top 3 or whatever, because it does struggle against decks that are not Zoodiac. But again, if you hone in on cards like, let's say, Imperial Iron Wall or something like that to stop ABC Buster Dragon, or at least you limit them down to the point where all they can do is really exceed, Fire Kings can actually be pretty scary right now. Number 6. True Dracos, or True Kings, whatever the hell you want to call the deck. It's kind of ironic for me to put this deck on the list because of how much I hated Dragon Rulers, and yet I've come to really like this deck. The reason why I put it on the list, though, is because it has disgusting amount of Logia Dulka spam. You can throw in cards like Scolding, Vanities, etc. And the ability using the field spell to pop a floater out of your hand to search for a True Ruler that will then get you Soul Devouring Overraptor, which will then search you for another floater. And if you have another floater in your hand, all you need is 2 floaters and a field spell to really go off. So Logia Dulka spam, ability to play broken cards like Scolding, being able to sufficiently support Vanities, and then being able to pull cards out of your opponent's extra deck, which against Zoodiac is actually very relevant. I honestly think that this deck is, again, like when Soul Devouring Overraptor and Pterodon come out, I honestly think this deck's going to pick up a lot of traction pretty quickly. It's just a matter of people give the deck the time of day. Number 5. DDDs. So I'm not going to dwell on this for too long because I think we all know DDDs by now. I mean, hell, Jeff Jones won ARG Hartford not too long ago with the deck. So, and let's get this out of the way before I even go any further. Yes, opening Hope Harbinger, Crystal Wing, Curse King, plus like a flipped Vanity standby phase is absolute bullshit. But just in general, the deck has the ability to throw a lot of damage on board at once, and really, like, even if you kaiju 1 card, like, you still have 2 more to deal with. The only reason why Zoodiacs are able to grind even remotely okay is because of cards like Daigusto Emerald and the trap that recycles if they play it. So if you're able to lock out those cards, or if you're able to like Valor on the Daigusto Emerald, they're going to run out of stuff far quicker than you will. So with the ability to throw a lot of damage on the board while maintaining a solid grind game, and just being able to hone in on cards like ABC Buster Dragon, for instance, which apparently wasn't too much of trouble for Jeff Jones, but nonetheless, I honestly think that this deck is, it's not really going to go anywhere. Number 4. Counter Fairies. Counter Fairies are one of the most annoying stun decks the game has ever seen, and I love it. You know, oh no, well, all Pendulum decks are dead because, you know, now we gotta, you know, go by these new rules, and they take up spell and trap card zones, and that doesn't matter with this deck at all because all it really needs is Guiding Ariande. So having a pretty standard setup of Guiding Ariande plus like 10 back row, like, it's still a bitch for your opponent to deal with. It has a lot of tools at its disposal, and then being able to use cards like Bountiful Artemis to plus off of these tools at your disposal is ridiculous. Oh, Drastic Drop-Off? Well, basically, I'm gonna take that draw for myself because you're gonna lose a card, and then because I have Artemis in play, I'm gonna gain a card. So, sound cool? Oh, so you're gonna Twin Twister me, and you're gonna target my Guiding Ariande, one of my face downs, so I'm gonna Curse Seal the Forbidden Spell you, so not only do I have to discard for that, but also you can't play Twin Twister for the rest of the game, so GLHF. Number 3. Barrier Statues. So statues, again, are another one of those decks where literally just throwing a Dyna on field and like literally doing something simple as playing a Dyna, equipping a Moon Mirror Shield, setting a Bribe is like enough to win you the game, I would say a good 70-75% of the time. And Fossil Dyna is hands down one of the best answers against the deck right now. Because for one, they can't Kaiju over top of it, and they can't interrupt a Kaiju Slumber as much as the Scrubs like to think you can. They only have a limited amount of normal summons, and a lot of their normal summons are very, very small attack, especially above 1200. And if you back it up with a couple of trap cards, I mean, like, really, what are they gonna do? Oh, you're gonna Raigeki me. Okay, well, I'm either going to Bribe it, Dress it, Lance it, my body is a Shield it, or Phantom Knight Sword or Phantom Knight Wings it. So, yeah. Next, you know, like Twin Twister, pitch, target 2, and even if you don't negate it, them summoning a monster, that's 3 out of 6 cards if they have a full hand. That is a gross oversimplification of the game state. So honestly, I look at statues and I say, this deck has really, really good matchups against stuff like Zoodiacs. Yeah, and if they go first, big deal. You have 2 Dark Hole and a Raigeki in your main deck if you're smart, plus Book of Moon if you want to, and your absolute worst case scenario, you set the Dyna, wait for them to overextend like hell into it, flip it, and then crush their dreams. And even if they put a Drancy on the field main phase 2 after that, okay, great. All your trap cards are live, which means the swords, wings, compulse if you run it, you know, dress or whatever else you have to stop any barrier statue you then summon from that point on from getting popped by Drancy, they're live now. And then let's not forget that White Veil is coming out relatively soon, and I mean, White Veil is disgusting versus a lot of these decks. You know, even if it's just a tanky one face down, if you go White Veil, they can't, you know, use any potential backer that they may have. So a statues is a deck that, again, a lot of people underappreciate, but I mean, look at Asia. It just won the Asia Winter Qualifier not too long ago. There's a guy, like, a couple weeks ago that just top 8'd a regional with it. Like, the deck's still around, it's still doing well because there are people that are willing to give the deck a chance. So I'd highly recommend trying Statues. It's one of my favorite decks of all time. I love playing it, and I don't think I'm ever gonna not play the deck. It's just too much fun. Number 2, Kaiju. Not Yosenju Kaiju, none of that great old Kaiju bullshit, like pure Kaiju. You know, this deck I still consider to be the best deck of the format, and it was so close to being number 1 on the list. I really wanted to make it number 1, but there were a couple problems that I had. For one, everybody is splashing Kaiju right now in their decks, so it's not like you can just put Jizukiru on the board and play Jizukiru control because they can slumber it away if they have it. Secondly, and piggybacking off of that last point, you know, they can use their Kaiju effects that they have by taking your counters. And also another problem that I have is that Zoodiacs do give the deck a little bit of trouble at times because the amount that they are able to, like the amount of advantage that they could rack up quickly. Now, granted, if you get Jizukiru control going or Gamasiel control going and your opponent doesn't have a Kaiju to summon, I mean, you're gonna win the game like 99 times out of 100. You're fine. And then plus on top of that, if you open the Slumber and they don't, I mean, you're just gonna crush their dreams. But it's all a matter of if your opponent has the optimal hand versus yours. But overall, I look at Kaiju, I still say it's the best deck. It's fantastically good at grinding. It's fantastically good at getting around first turn fields, which means Drancia plus Emerald plus Invoker is going to do pretty much nothing versus the deck. But the last problem that I had with the deck, though, is the ridiculous learning curve. I've been playing the deck for over 3 months, and I still learn shit pretty much every day that I play it, if that says anything. So overall, I'd give it a shot. If you have the time and you have the patience to play it, definitely do it. I think you'll see the power that the deck has. And my number 1 budget / anti-meta deck for the new format is... Domain Monarchs. So, I know this is going to seem like an odd pick to some of you, but let me just break it down real quick.
Let me break it down for you!
So first of all, I think we can all agree that Vanity's Fiend is bullshit. Like, straight up. Like, having an opening turn Vanity's Fiend, if they don't have Raigeki against you, you probably win the game, versus Zoodiacs, versus ABC. Like, a lot of times, your opponent's just not going to get around that. So take that on top of the fact that not only can this deck run Vanity's Fiend, it can side or main deck Majesty's Fiend, and let's say put the Vanity's Fiends in the side deck like I do. So then take that and also remember that this deck has the best draw card in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pantheism. It's a +1 every time you activate it, and then you can recycle it a bunch of times. Let's also remember that while Zoodiacs have a decent grind game because they can go Daigusto Emerald and they have the trap card if they play it, but Domain Monarchs can usually grind a lot better. And God forbid, you go opening turn and you summon Vanity's Fiend and then activate Domain, like, unless they have Raigeki and you don't have March, like, there is legitimately nothing that deck can do to beat you. So Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend, plus cards to support Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend, plus using cards like Mithra, Idea, and Eidos, consistent tribute fodder, plus the ability to grind really well with cards like Prime Monarch, and also not to mention that Prime is also a good tribute fodder if you have it in the graveyard, and a field spell is the best thing since sliced bread right now. Like, Domain may be the only field spell in the game right now that can give Necro Valley a run for its money, and that's saying something because Necro Valley, especially with the new errata, it just kills so much. So with all that said, let's also remember that this is a budget deck video. This deck costs, like, for low rarity, it costs, like, pocket change to make. So not only do you have one of the best field spells in the game, not only do you have access to cards like Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend, turn 1 very consistently. In addition to that, you can also play cards like Scolding, and Scolding is amazing right now. Vanity's Fiend, Scolding, Domain, do something. So I understand that a lot of people aren't going to like the fact I put Domain Monarchs at number 1 on the list, but I truly feel it's one of the better anti-meta choices right now. I truly feel it's one of the best budget decks right now, and I truly feel it has some of the best matchups you're going to see versus Zoodiacs for the time being. You know, it can grind pretty easily, its monsters have a lot of value to them whenever they hit the board. Vanity's Fiend is a great card, Majesty Fiend is a great card, and Domain is disgustingly good versus decks like Zoodiacs right now. So I would highly recommend at least giving the deck a shot. It takes a little bit to get the hang of, but it is so fun whenever you get it to work. So that's my budget deck video. I gotta go edit this shit, so you better leave a thumbs up for me using the next 3 hours of my life or so. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any decks I missed in a comment, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.